Good evening and welcome to the first meeting in the new year 2020. This is the January 22nd, 2020 regular meeting of the Economic Development and Housing Commission. Tonight's agenda is available on the counter along with requests to speak cards. That being said, Mr. Olson, please, would you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Yes. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. A reminder to everyone that requests to speak cards should be completed and turned in to the clerk prior to the completion of any staff presentation. For those speakers wishing to speak on an item not on the agenda but within the jurisdiction of the commission, please write the item number on your card. All speakers will be limited to 3 minutes. Please note that this meeting is being recorded and televised, so all speakers, in order to be recognized, must be called by the chair and come forward to the microphone. Speaking in public may cause some individuals to be uncomfortable, so everyone is asked to be professional and respectful. With that, the first item on the agenda is presentation by the public on matters not on the agenda within the jurisdiction of this commission. The commission is prohibited by law from discussing issues not on the agenda brought to them at this time. Are there any items? There being none, we'll move on to item number 2 on the agenda, presentation on West Sacramento Home Run Program. Mr. Miller, good evening.
Thank you, members of the Commission, for allowing me to appear before you tonight to describe one of the city's key initiatives, the West Sacramento Home Run. My name is Jeff Miller. I'm the Senior Program Manager for the West Sacramento Home Run. Justine Jimenez, the Home Run Business Manager, also wanted to be here, but she came down with the flu yesterday, so she sends her regrets. While you are probably already familiar with the Home Run, I wanted to highlight the part of the initiative that I think is relevant to some of the work of this body. I'm also hoping that members of the Commission might consider becoming involved with the West Sacramento Home Run. I'll start with an overview and a brief history, and then narrow in on the part of the Home Run that I think is will be of most interest to you. And I apologize, I'm just getting over a cold myself, so I'll try not to cough. The West Sacramento Home Run was launched in 2016 when West Sacramento voters approved Measure E, which established a quarter-cent transfer tax to support a smart cities initiative and what was then called the Kids Home Run. The Home Run built on the success of West Sacramento's award-winning universal preschool program, an internship program managed by the West Sacramento Foundation, and the West Sacramento Promise, through which West Sacramento high school graduates could receive 1 year of free community college. The Kids Home Run, later rebranded as the West Sacramento Home Run, added 3 new components: a program through which the city offers financial incentives to encourage families to save for post-secondary education and training, digital badges, which serve as online evidence of student skills, and scholarships to graduates who have participated in the various home run programs. In cooperation with Los Rios, we've also expanded the West Sacramento Promise to 2 years. The Home Run was conceived as an economic and workforce development initiative that would make West Sacramento an attractive place to raise a family, grow up, and for businesses to find talent. And that last part about finding talent is why I'm here tonight. Oh, actually, I skipped a slide. Could we go to the second slide? Oh, I do? Great. Okay. All right. So while the home run is relatively new and the pieces are still being put into place, our goal is to create a system that results in positive outcomes for youth and helps produce a workforce that has the skills and competencies that will attract and retain employers in this city. That system is made up of our partners across the city, including our certified high-quality preschools and the professionals who support them, Washington Unified School District, Sacramento City College, and the West Sacramento Chamber of Commerce. The next slide shows the 6 programs that will make up the home run. And the metaphor we use is that children run the bases and return to home plate, which represents young people growing up, getting educated, gaining work experience, and then returning to West Sacramento to raise their own families, to work, and to start businesses. The second base programs are the ones that I want to focus on tonight. Through our partnership with the West Sacramento Chamber, we offer paid 8-week summer internships to students in the Washington Unified School District. The home run pays interns minimum wage and takes care of insurance, workers' comp, payroll, etc. Host sites agree to provide a supervisor for the interns to monitor their work and provide feedback to ensure a positive learning experience, and to participate in a few events during the summer. To qualify for an internship, students must be 16 years old by the first day of work, and they must have successfully completed 2 courses in a single career technical education pathway. CTE pathways consist of a series of courses that are designed to prepare students for entry-level work in one of 9 industries immediately following high school graduation, or to continue their education at one of the local community colleges. We work with the Chamber of Commerce to identify internship opportunities that align with one of those 9 CTE pathways. You'll see on this slide one of our interns from last summer named Jason, along with his supervisor, Sarah Bernal. Jason has interned for the past 2 summers at various farms operated by the Center for Land-Based Learning. He's a great kid and a hard worker, and Sarah is a fantastic mentor, and I'm sure some of you probably know her. Jason is in the agri-science pathway at River City High School. The other second base program is digital badges. Digital badges are what is known as micro-credentials, in that they usually represent a narrower set of skills than a full credential like a high school diploma or a degree or a professional license. They're similar to the merit badges you might have earned in the Scouts, but they are virtual, so they can be stored online and shared via LinkedIn or social media, or just a link emailed to a potential employer. And each badge has metadata embedded in it that provides information about the knowledge or skills that were demonstrated in order to earn the badge. So they provide a little bit more detail than just a resume about what the applicant knows. We're still building out our badging system, and we're currently focused on job readiness skills like teamwork, conflict resolution, professional communication, things like that. Eventually, we hope to expand our use of badges to include industry-specific skills. These are some of the benefits of our second base programs, and I want to highlight that second bullet about creating a pipeline of employees with an example. This is Matt. Matt interned last summer with the city's facilities department after completing the residential and commercial construction pathway at Bright. I had a conversation with Matt shortly after he started his internship, and he told me that he wanted to leave West Sacramento because he wanted to go to a college where he could continue his hockey career. Matt is a hard worker, though, and at the end of his internship, he was asked to apply for a full-time position with the city, which he applied for and got. And he's now enrolled in a program at one of the local community colleges that will enable him to move up in the facilities department and make more money. So Matt was ready to leave West Sacramento, but our internship program helped keep him here. The impact we seek with the home run is to provide our young people with a strong educational foundation with valuable skills and professional connections and the confidence and resources to continue their education so they can become contributing members of the community. and maybe even business owners that will host future interns. And this is Kevin, and Kevin interned at Wallace Cool Associates last summer. This is a quote from Madison, who interned last summer at the California Fuel Cell Partnership. Madison is a very shy, quiet girl, but she had a fabulous experience, and that was due in no small part to her supervisor, Ben Song, who is one of our superstar mentors. Ben had Madison make presentations to her team and to their partners on her research, and I believe that quote, that employer quote, actually is his quote, because that's what he told me. So not only are we building a pipeline of future employees, but interns can really make a positive contribution during their internships. They're young and green, but with thoughtful mentorship, they can really shine. Whoops. These are some of our long-term goals for the entire Home Run Initiative, but the third and fourth bullets are the ones that I came here to discuss with you. We want to provide more internships to drive more kids to enroll in those CTE pathways, and we want to expand our digital badge offerings to help kids develop the skills that are in demand right here in West Sacramento. This is Natalia, who interned with the city's Capital Projects and Transportation Department. Natalia came into the internship interested in electrical engineering, but by the time she left, she told me she was open to the idea of becoming a civil engineer. And she's now enrolled in an engineering program at Sac State. I should have titled this slide, How You and Everyone Else You Know Can Help. Last year, we had about 30 interns. This year, we're hoping to ramp up to 50. But last year, Washington Unified and the city accounted for half of our placements. So we had no internships for students in the biomed or robotics pathways, and not enough positions for students in the computer science or engineering pathways. We want to provide a wide variety of options for students from all 9 pathways, and we hope you can help. The West Sacramento Home Run and its partners, Washington Unified, the West Sac Chamber, and Sac City College are building a pipeline of talent that we think will be attractive to businesses considering locating here and to those that are already here. But to ensure local talent meets the current and future needs of local business, we need partners willing to invest in that talent pool. I hope you will get involved or help us identify those who might be willing to make that investment. Thanks for your time, and I'm open to answering any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Miller. Excuse me. Thank you, Mr. Miller, for your presentation. You know, I've done some research in the program. In fact, one of, I don't know if it was last year's intern, Treasure Azevedo, is a young lady that I mentored at River City High School through an architect, construction, and engineering program called ACE. She was a stellar student, enthusiastic. I don't know where she is now.
She works for the city.
Is she on a full-time basis, or is she?
I believe she's in school and working part-time.
So I'm a firm believer in these programs to give young people a start, an item that they can put on their resume. Personally, my own daughter, I was able to get her an internship while she was going to college, and it really highlighted her resume and moved her into her profession. Are there any other comments from Mr. Keon?
Hey, Jeff, how you doing?
Hey, Andrew.
So I'm laughing because I didn't recognize you with the beard there. Jeff is essentially my counterpart for the job that I do for the city of Sacramento. I run a very similar program, and so I just have to say I echo all of the amazing benefits to both the community and the students that Jeff talked about in his home run presentation. The transformation that you can see in some of these students is unbelievable, and the type of impact that you can have and what you can teach them and share with them to help them develop in their careers is really hard to put any sort of cost-benefit analysis on. The type of growth that we see is incredible. So I also want to stress how unbelievably hard it is to get placements. People that run businesses have a hard time accepting the idea of a high school kid working there. And so I applaud applaud your work because it's phenomenal, your work with the chamber and this whole program. And I've experienced all those same barriers trying to, like you said, you and everyone you know, how can you help get an opportunity for kids? Because what we're really doing, if you think about it, you helped get your daughter an internship, but a lot of these kids don't have those sorts of networks.
Right.
And so what we're really trying to do with a lot of these programs, if I don't want to put words in your mouth, but I feel like really strongly this is part of the building the network for that youth. And so if you kind of think about it like that and think about the type of impact that you can have, it really is an awesome opportunity. I wish I owned a business in West Sac so I could participate. Do you know what the average cost per student to the business is if they want to participate?
Well, the cost would be for the, I guess, the time of the supervisor.
Okay.
We pay the wages and and all of that, so it would just be the time of the supervisor and, any overhead associated with that.
Okay, thank you.
Chris, it was on.
Go ahead.
Oh, sorry, thank you, Chris. Hey, Jeff, thank you for coming and telling us all about this program. I'm still in my first couple of years living in West Sacramento, so there's a lot that I'm still even learning about this program. Can you tell me what the 9 industries or pathways are? I heard 2 or 3 of them, but
Yeah.
I don't mean to put you on the spot
testing
about
me. So there's ag science, biomedicine, robotics, engineering, computer science, theater, video production,
Construction.
construction, yes. I don't know how many that was.
That was 8, we're missing
Is there a
one.
business academy one in
No.
Washington Unified?
We
Okay.
don't have one, no.
sorry, go ahead.
I know there's another one, but I just can't think of it.
No worries. I was actually curious as to whether there's been any discussion, since you work with the district and city college, about a pathway for education. Kids who wanted to become teachers or work in education or strengthen the local education force. I work for the School Board Association here in West Sac, so it's kind of special interest, but I didn't know if there was any discussion or possibility of having an education type pathway.
Yeah, I think the district chose these pathways a few years back, and I was not here at that time, and so, among our staff, we've had a conversation about that, but I don't know what the conversation has been at the district.
All right, cool. Well, thank you either way.
You might
Thanks, Jeff.
want to check in, sorry to cut in there, but you might want to check in with your sort of academic superintendent, the assistant superintendent in charge of academics, because they usually run the process to apply to the state of California for the grants that fund CTE programmings in school, and that determines how many and what pathways they're usually able to offer majority of the time. Sometimes there's other exceptions to that, but in the 4 school districts in the city of Sacramento, for instance, it varies from school to school and district to district based on their CTE funding.
And Nick Escobar, who used to sit on this commission, runs that program. Oh, wonderful. So just to wrap up, to Chris White, Frontier Energy, California Fuel Cell Partnership, Ben's my guy, we've had Madison. We were a pilot site for the first year of the program. We've had an intern every year. We get more applications for internships than most businesses because we have been the only one to offer a position working with software, hardware, web stuff. I think it scares businesses away, thinking that, oh, we're not in the business of doing things with computers and therefore we can't have an intern. But literally, if you send out emails, if you have a website, if you're doing anything at all, our intern 2 years ago was a hardware guy, and he just wiped computer disks and did inventories of software and got everybody updated with drivers. It was amazingly useful, and he really enjoyed it, and he learned things about business. So don't think just because I do not do biotechnical engineering, I could not host a student. A bioagricultural student can also work with you on a composting program. So, widen your horizons.
Any other comments?
We could place like 3 with you.
Mr. Miller, thank you for your presentation.
Thank you.
And your program.
Thank you.
Thank you. I have some brochures if anybody wants one.
Please,
Thanks, Jeff.
if you can leave them with the... Okay, moving on to 2 items on the consent calendar. Item number 3 is approval of the September 25th, 2019 meeting minutes. And item number 4 is a resolution that establishes the date and time and location for the 2020 meetings. That resolution, originally published as 19-1, is corrected to 20-1. Resolution 20-1. I'd like to make a note of a clerical error on January 27th, 2021, the last meeting noted in that resolution, instead of 2020. Are there any comments about, or I should say, I'd like to entertain a motion to approve the 2 consent items. Can I have a motion, please?
I move that we approve them. I move that we approve both motions in the consent agenda.
I'll second that motion.
Thank you. It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Thank you. Moving on to the regular agenda, item number 5, a presentation, or I should say, a presentation and a public hearing about the availability of the 2020 Community Development Block Grant funding. Mr. Salinas? Thank you.
Just waiting on the presentation here. It's okay.
It's on my screen.
Good evening, Mr. Chair and members of the commission. I'm here today to announce the availability of the city's 2020 CDBG funding and to solicit comments from the commission regarding the goals for the 2020 CDBG funding. After the brief presentation, staff respectfully requests that the commission open a public hearing to consider comments from the public regarding this item. Come on, there you go. To begin my presentation, CDBG funding must be used to meet at least 3 of the national objectives. The following are the 3 national objectives. These are to benefit low to moderate income persons or households, eliminate slums and blight, and urgent need. It's important to note that 70% of a jurisdiction's allocation must be used to benefit low and moderate income persons or households. Jurisdictions receiving CDBG funding are required to create a 5-year consolidated plan. 5-year consolidated plans outline goals to accomplish within that 5-year time frame. The city's current 2016-2020 consolidated plan identified 4 goals divided into 4 different goals: high priority and low priority. The first high priority goal is to reduce the incidence and impacts of homelessness, and the second is to achieve goals identified within Washington Realized. The first low priority goal is to strengthen economic opportunities for low-income households, and the last one is to affirmatively further fair housing. So for each year of the 5-year consolidated plan, an annual action plan must be created that details this year's funding, how this year's funding will further the goals of the 5-year consolidated plan. We're currently in the 5th and final year of our 5-year consolidated plan and currently developing the 2020 annual action plan. So for 2020, we're anticipating an allocation similar to last year's funding, which is about $430,000. When you subtract 20% for planning administration and add about $30,000 of anticipated program income, we should have around $374,000 of CDBG funding available for 2020. One of the recommended actions for tonight for the commission is to give staff recommendations as to which goals they would like to focus on for 2020. And these are the high priority goals and low priority goals, again, here on the screen. And the second is to, after this presentation, to open a public hearing and to solicit comment from the public regarding this item as well. That concludes my very brief presentation, and staff will be available to answer any questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Going through your report, again, just to note a clerical error on task number 4, which is noted as 3/26/2020, the date. Our meeting, per the resolution we just passed, is 3/25/2020.
325? Okay.
With that, I'd like to open the meeting to the public. Are there any comments? I haven't received any cards? No speakers? Okay. Well, commissioners, do you have any comments, suggestions, moving on? Well, Mr. Salinas, this is the last year, am I correct, in the 5-year plan?
Correct.
So are we going to initiate another 5-year plan? Is this the end of this?
Yeah, it's
Funding?
the end of this consolidated plan, but we will be developing the new consolidated plan this year, and it should be approved sometime next year. With that, also, we will be developing the 2021 annual action plan as well. Both are approved at the same time.
Okay, so you'll bring that back to us.
Yeah.
Are there any suggestions or specific needs? Last year, I believe we approved the majority of the funding for the Washington Realized.
Yeah, that's going to be the E&F Streets Frontage Improvement Project. That's for ADA accessibility and other improvements there. And we're currently working on the environmental clearance for that. And we're going to do most of the work in-house. But yeah, most of the funding was allocated towards that project.
So are there any continuing needs for 2020 in Washington Realized? Or any planned?
There are a few infrastructure projects that we might have in mind, but that still has to be based off of your recommendations. It really comes down to what goals we want to focus on again. So far, the PSH project has been mostly funded. We're going to continue to fund fair housing services, and we are currently developing the micro enterprise technical assistance program. We're working with our economic development program manager kind of to see how we would like that program to be designed and implemented. But again, we can get some direction on,
Yeah, personally, and the commissioners, please give me your input, but I would like to see some more money allocated to the Washington area, being that we're going to have a new bridge that's going to terminate in the Washington area. We've got apartments. CalSTRS is building a new building. There's a proposed hotel in the area, a new boat ramp, and the trail, a new boat dock, and then there's a trail to the boat ramp. So a lot of activity, and I'm just wondering how these funds can support and enhance those activities. Pardon?
Mr. Chairperson, if I can chime in and circle back to your original question, I believe you asked whether there was any additional need for the E&F frontage improvements. There is still a need. The allocation from the 2019 funds only covered a portion of what the total cost of that project will be. So that could be something that the 2020 funding could be allocated towards, continuing to support Washington Realized in the completion and additional funding for that E&F street frontage improvements.
Okay. Any comments from the commissioners on how we should, or suggestions on using these funds? Commissioner DiCamillo?
Yeah, I just was curious, I know some of these past years, we've been able to, the city's been able to leverage the funds that we did get to get other grants and other programs. I mean, that was kind of discussed in this report here. Are there any that you're aware of right now that, funding programs that are out there that could be, used with these funds that are anticipated to come that would address certain issues, or?
There could be potential, but it really comes down to if they meet those goals and meet the national objectives. CDBG funding, again, is really flexible, but it really comes down to what specific projects, and I know we were able to leverage a lot of the funds in the PSH project. So it really comes down to the cost and then whatever grants are available that could be matched or leveraged using CDBG funds.
Yeah, I mean, to the extent that, staff are looking into those available funds, I continue to encourage that, just because it's such a great, I don't know what the buzzword is, synergy, to bring this money and get other money. I would also say I agree with Ron that, the Washington plan, especially with all the movement that's happening down there, to continue, to develop the area down there, and, yeah.
Any other comments, commissioners? Sir?
Thank you. To the extent that Washington is still, the Washington Realized Plan is still in our higher priority kind of threshold, and the other one being reduce incidence and impact of homelessness, to what degree does staff see their ability to sort of combine those two as they're working on one versus the other, using these funding? Like, are you able to leverage some of the Washington Realized Plan elements to also reduce the impact of homelessness? And if so, do you feel like in the previous year, the current efforts have been successful, and are those something you can replicate in the 2020 year with your current resources? So, sorry, long question.
No, yeah, I think it's a combination of both, but we were definitely able to address that number one priority through the PSH project. And again, it's construction, is anticipated the next year or so. But tying it into Washington Realize, I would have to come back with a specific answer on that one, but I mean, that's a great suggestion, just kind of tie both of the priority and goals to one, kind of complement each other.
I mean, specifically around the Riverwalk, I think of targeted impact outreach, where you're having folks who are trying to get people into PSH, into treatment programs, et cetera, focusing on a specific area where there may be beds available, especially if there is a legally enforceable mandate that comes from the legislature in the near future. So something to consider as a recommendation would be to see what options there are to bring people into treatment to help them get into PSH, as part of your larger Washington plan, because I think they can be mutually beneficial, and if you're expecting more people on the Riverwalk, I think it may also become a bigger source point.
Definitely, thank you.
Good point, thank you. Any other comments, commissioners? As a point of order, I guess I should have closed the public hearing, being that there were no public comments. That being said, the public hearing is closed. And are there any other comments, questions of Mr. Salinas? So I think
I do have a question.
Commissioner Olson.
Thank you. Do you know what percent of capacity the PSHs are currently at?
The percent as in occupancy, or? It's going to be 85 units. Correct me if I'm wrong, it's going to be 85 individuals.
So the project is not yet built. The project actually just received an award of low-income housing tax credits in November of last year, which is one of the main funding sources. It's going to provide over 70% of the funding for the project. So we're hoping and that the project will be under construction around April or May, and that's actually a requirement of the low-income housing tax credits. They have to be pulling building permits within 180 days of the award of those tax credits. So we are well on our way of getting that project built. So again, it's not yet built, so, but we do have to work with the county continuum of care for some of those referrals. We're going to be working with Yolo County Housing, the Housing Authority, to also receive some referrals because the project has received some Section 8 vouchers, homeless vouchers. And then we're going to be working very closely with our homeless coordinator, Mark Sawyer, for referrals. That was one of the items that the council was very clear that they want to make sure that individuals who are going to benefit from the project are primarily West Sacramento homeless or have some tie to West Sacramento. They may have been prior residents who had to relocate to say Sacramento or Woodland because they didn't have any opportunity here, but because of their ties to West Sacramento, if they're eligible for the project, we want to make sure that we bring them back because all of their support may be here in West Sacramento. So there is something that we are going to be focusing on to make sure that we benefit West Sacramento homeless individuals or those who have ties to West Sacramento.
And that was going to be one of my questions, is what the criteria was. And I'll tell you, a member of the public approached me, I would say, within the past 3 days, and was aware of the agenda and said one of his main criticisms was that he didn't, and he had actually served on not this commission, but a planning commission for quite some time. And he said, my main concern is that when we allocate money to assist with homelessness or people on the verge of homelessness, it was his belief that in the past, that it was actually homeless populations from places like North Highlands and Citrus Heights that were getting the benefit of the West Sacramento programs. So to that end, while I understand that sometimes people go to other cities because there may be additional resources, I would like to see the criteria for how those 85 units are going to be filled. And if I may be so bold, I would like to see priority for people that are currently in West Sacramento in filling those units, because I think that would be really beneficial to the city as a whole. But that's my personal comment.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Perhaps,
Pardon? Who?
Is there?
Oh.
Here I go.
Commissioner Olson.
Thank you. Do you have an estimate on the number of homeless people that are currently residing in West Sacramento? Or did I just miss that in the
I think
materials?
the point in time count was 86 or 87, I believe. With
Unsheltered.
Unsheltered.
Homeless. The sheltered who are living, say, in motels or other temporary forms of housing, but are at the verge of being homeless is a lot larger. It's more like 100
It's like 157, I think.
Okay, so an 85-unit housing would make a very big difference to the current homeless population.
That is correct.
Okay.
That is the hope, obviously, and that's what staff is going to be working towards.
I just wanted to add on to Commissioner Matter's comment that perhaps in the context of comments on this, one thing maybe we could recommend is that to the extent that the 2020 plan addresses homeless issues, perhaps the idea of exploring and, a priority for West Sacramento residents, just as you look at possible options for this new year, so.
Of course.
So, Commissioner Matters, you're looking for specific criteria for the residents?
Right. And specific criteria with priority given to people who are currently residing in West Sacramento, because if we have 86 to 87 people that are unsheltered, you could take care of almost the entire unsheltered population with this development.
Right.
And I think even if that weren't the case, even if we couldn't take care of all of those people, with people living in temporary housing at 157, I think was the number, I certainly think the priority should be given for people here. But notwithstanding that point, I think there should be other criteria that I'd like to see the basis upon which people would be selected for that housing.
And staff is currently working on a local preference policy, and that was under the direction of council as well. So this isn't the first time it came up, but yeah, that would definitely be part of that. And we could definitely look into maybe, focusing on that as one of our goals for the annual action plan.
If I may chime in again, sorry. As Abraham just pointed out, the council has been very clear that we need to make sure that any programs that we propose or any projects have some form of local preference priority. So you can see that already in the DST program, the Downtown Streets program. It has a local preference priority. You can also see it on our winter warming centers program that is being administered by the Mercy Coalition. It also has a local preference priority. And one of the goals for the city is a local preference policy, just in general, a blanket policy that all of our programs will have to adhere to in projects. So that is something that is going to be incorporated into next year's consolidated plan, is to make sure that it does include a local preference policy. And we're going to, a little bit off topic because the action item is for the annual action plan, and we're talking about the consolidated plan, but I just wanted to make sure that you were aware that a local preference policy is going to be incorporated in next year's consolidated plan.
Commissioner Price, if I may.
Please.
Has this commission, in its current form, as it relates to the annual action plan, received any sort of information session on the point in time count that was conducted, would have been 28?
2017.
2017 was the last time they did it? Mm-hmm. Okay. For West Sacramento, is that something you received prior to?
I have not,
It might be informative as something to bring back as part of the CDBG recommendations, just so we can kind of get an understanding of the types of questions they asked, and it might also help address some of this, because I know in other point-in-time counts, one of the things that they ask when they contact unsheltered folks is, where are they from? And so that typically is data that they've already collected, and in Sacramento, 93% of the people that were respondents were also from the area.
Gotcha.
So just something to be aware of as far as pet counts goes. In the for the 2020 annual action plan, does council have the flexibility once, we've made all our recommendations, we go forward with a big plan, and we get halfway into 2020 and there's a big need comes up that CDBG funds would be eligible to address. Does council have the ability to change direction on that, or is that like a set thing?
We can certainly amend the annual action plan if an urgent need or a project comes up, again, if it meets the eligible criteria.
Sure.
Yeah, it could definitely can be amended.
Okay, any other comments? So I think that your comment, Commissioner Kehoe, about the unsheltered population and how many, that would be a recommendation or a takeaway from this meeting?
Potentially, more to the point of like, how is the pit count conducted? What sort of questions do they ask? And just a quick update as it relates to the annual action plan, because I feel like that formulates so much of our recommendations around priority one. Is our sort of lone source of data about unsheltered populations here in West Sacramento, both in my recommendation around targeting, our Washington area, but also just in general.
Mm-hmm. So we can ask our homeless coordinator, Mark Sawyer. He's the one who leads our local pit count. We can ask him to come at the next commission meeting and perhaps give a presentation on how that process works. And what the numbers from the last point-in-time count were. The last one was actually done in last year in 2019.
Oh, okay.
And I believe the report just came out or is about to come out. It takes him a while to actually produce the report because it is a county-wide point-in-time count. But if that is something that the commission would be interested in, we can certainly reach out again to our homeless coordinator to provide a presentation about that.
Yeah, if the commission is interested, I'm happy to meet with them separately, just so I can understand, but if the rest of the
No, we would appreciate that, Mr. Huerta, if you could make that happen. And the Washington Realize project, if there's opportunity for enhancement funding there. Any other recommendations from the commissioners? There being none?
I think.
Oh, Commissioner DeCamillo.
Just in terms of looking for matching and other grants, like, prioritizing, looking into prioritizing projects where there might be more funds available, which I know you all are already doing and wonderful at.
Okay. Mr. Salinas, thank you. I hope you've gotten our recommendations, and
Yes.
we'll look forward to seeing you at the future meeting after you talk to the parks and other folks. So we'll see you again in March.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Moving on to item 6, general administrative items. Request from comments from the commissioners. Commissioner White?
A quick comment.
Yeah.
The button hits the bottom of and turns off by itself. A quick comment, very relevant to what we talked about. The latest issue of the fabulous West Sacramento Works magazine is out, and it's in the lobby. And it has a number of stories about how the people and businesses in our community are working to address the needs of our folks who are experiencing homelessness. So I encourage you to pick it up, see things about some new programs from the food bank, the Mercy Housing Coalition, what we're doing with some children that have been losing their homes. So
Okay.
it is a fabulous magazine, if I do say so myself.
Thank you, Commissioner White. Does staff have any updates to share with us?
Good evening, Chair, Commission members. Staff does not have, we do not have updates for tonight, other than that we're extremely busy. I wanted to let you know that this is Abraham's last week. He's taken a position with the city of Sacramento, and we're really proud of him. It's a great promotional opportunity for him. But other than that, we're very involved in all of the projects that you've just discussed in Washington Realized. We're very immersed in a large new office development in the Bridge District and other transformational infrastructure projects around the city, but I don't have any specific updates for you tonight. We did complete the Barge Canal Trail, and there will be a ribbon cutting for that on February 13th at 10:30. My staff was very involved in actually conceiving of that. This is the first phase of a Central Park concept that will be happening around the Barge Canal and down in Stone Lock. And my staff was very involved in, did a whole master plan and was the one that conceptualized this park and this first element. And so we're very happy to see it come to completion now. We're working on what the next steps are in terms of just securing the old locks facilities and protecting those and preserving them and taking care of sort of security homeless issues around that as well, associated with this opening of the trail.
Okay. Do you have any information on the, what was it called? The trolley, the train that was supposed to connect West Sacramento?
Sure.
Streetcar, thank you, is the term. And my concern, I'm sure everybody's heard about the fact that RT now has a bus to the airport, and I believe the connection's on 5th or 7th in Sacramento. So if you're in West Sacramento, how do you get to 7th?
Well, there's a lot of actually interesting, I should have mentioned it, there's a new project that the parking manager in my department is working on. So there's a new service coming into town, and we'll have some of these. It's basically a rideshare service that acts just like Jump Bike. So in other words, you just get into a car, they're all electric vehicles. Some will be parked in the Bridge District and other places in town, at our parking lot up here probably, and you just drive it to wherever you want to go and park it and leave, and they come back and pick it up and charge it. And you can actually, I think they're even allowing trips to into the San Francisco airport. So there's a lot of new mobility measures beyond VIA that are happening to support, mobility and transportation goals. Right now, Congresswoman Matsui is very involved in trying to protect our federal funding for the streetcar, and the city has been actively negotiating with our partners across the river and with RT about reconceptualizing the project, but in a way that protects our CEQA NEPA documentation and meets the intent and purpose of all the funding, including we pulled $30 million from the state, cap and trade funds. So what that would look like right now is getting light rail across the river. It may go down as far as Ironworks and turn around and go back across, but that would be the first leg of regular transit service like that into the city. Additionally, in the Bridge District, we took in the Prop 1C grant of $23.1 million. We obligated ourselves to put in place regular, during peak hour, every 10-minute transit service down to all the major job centers and amenities downtown. So I've been waiting to see what the status was and how our plans were moving forward with the streetcar, because the streetcar was intended to accomplish that, meet that requirement. So it's something that I'm looking at is a shuttle, just a shuttle that replaces that very quickly, even before we would possibly have light rail through here. It's just the shuttle would kind of move through our urban districts and then go across the river and circulate in Midtown and downtown. Definitely regular service to the Amtrak station and major job centers across the river. So I've been sort of just on hold, on pause, kind of waiting to see what was going to go on with the streetcar, but there is funding set aside in the Bridge District to actually begin that kind of a shuttle service. So that's an area also that, if you would like, at the next meeting, I can have Transportation Division, who's lead in Public Works, for the come and give you an update on exactly what's happening with that.
Yes, I personally would like that. The other commissioners, they're nodding their head. That would be great if we could do that. A few of us here went to an economic event in Sacramento. When was that, in December? And I had conversation about the new soccer stadium and its relationship to West Sacramento. As far as, again, here we have another entertainment venue just across the river that's probably going to spill over to the Washington District, to the Bridge District, and to have that connectivity between the two would be great. So thank you if you could do that for the next meeting.
Definitely.
I was wanting to add on to that. Do you have any updates on the I Street bridge replacement? I mean, the most I've seen is that they're planning to announce something soon, or I don't know if you have any updates.
The same individual that will give a briefing on the streetcar light rail project is also the project lead for the I Street replacement. My department is involved in the I Street replacement. I believe they are about to announce the final design selection. I think they've kind of taken the architectural designs that were vetted with the public and where the public was involved in choosing it, and I think they've modified it further, and I think they're going to come forward with that. In the meantime, we have completed NEPA and CEQA on the project. We're starting to do we have about 14 property takes in the Washington District. That's going to take us a while to get through. We have to reconfigure circulation. There's a widening. So there's quite a bit of property acquisition and other improvements that will be happening around that bridge. So that's what we really are focused on right now is site control and property acquisition needed for the bridge, and then other circulation around the bridge. However, the Riverwalk Trail extension north into the boat ramp is actually going to, we moved the widening of C Street into that project, so that will be happening pretty quickly in the next year. I expect that one to be under construction.
Okay. Any other comments, Commissioner? Calendar of events, do you have any, you mentioned one, the barge trail on February the 18th?
February 13th at
13th?
10:30.
Oh, I can't read my own writing, I'm sorry.
And then the Cirque du Soleil opened tonight, it's the premiere night. I believe it's, sold out for tonight. It goes through February 22nd. And that was the only event that's really on the calendar for right now.
Okay, thank you. Any comments, commissioners, before I entertain a motion to adjourn? Can I have a motion, please? To adjourn.
I'll make the motion to adjourn.
Thank you, Commissioner. All those in favor?
You need a second.
Oh, excuse me, a second.
I second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, this meeting is adjourned. Thank you.